Hi everyone, Marco Schwartz here, and in this video I will share with you an update about Mintos that I really wanted to do for a long time because I had just realized my latest update on the Mintos platform dated from before the COVID crisis. So it was definitely time for a new update about this platform. So I will address a lot of things that are new with the platform. They really grew in size compared to my last review. I got the license, which something we'll talk a lot in this video, and also they had a lot of difficulties during the COVID crisis. A lot of people were really against Mintos, saying it's a bad platform, that you should really not invest on it. So I will dive through type of questions and introduction about Mintos by sharing with you my own experience during the COVID crisis, what happened to my own portfolio, how are my returns at the moment after this whole crisis, and we'll see if Mintos is still worth investing on in 2022. So let's first talk about Mintos itself. So it's one of the oldest platform in Europe. I remember that's the second platform I ever invested on after Bondora back in 2015 about. And it was also the largest at the moment in Europe. So they have more than 500,000 investors on the platform, which is really by at least one order of magnitude more than other platforms. And also they funded via the platform over 8.2 billion euros worth of loans. So it's really a massive platform, and that really should propose a lot of very interesting diversification opportunities for investors. So we are going to see that all inside this review. So first, in terms of returns, as I always like to speak, Mintos offers at the moment, they advertise returns of 11.6%. So it's definitely have been going up compared to a few years ago where it was more going towards 10%. So it's been going up again, which is great. And of course, we'll verify that inside this review when I will tell you at the end of the video what are my current returns with Mintos. The first, let's talk about the companies and the platform itself and what is the risk associated at the moment to invest on Mintos. So in terms of the platform itself, I won't repeat everything compared to my last review. You can check the whole review, detailed review on my site using the link just below the video. But for now, I would say that the most important set of news compared to the last time I talked about Mintos is that they are now a fully licensed platform. So they got the investment brokerage license, which is basically put them in the same category or a similar category as stockbrokers, for example. So they really have some responsibility towards your money, and they have to follow some very strict rules to manage the money that you put on the platform. So that's great news for investors. It also made a lot of changes on the platform, for the worse and for the better, let's say, in terms of the experience of using the platform. The worst part a bit, let's say, is that you have to fill a lot of forms and questionnaires to actually be able to invest on the platform. You probably saw that if you try to invest on Mintos already. That's of course part of the regulation they have to follow to actually keep this license and offer those securities to investors. The good news is that they have to change the complete way to invest on the platform. You can't invest in loans anymore directly. You have to invest in what is called notes. So notes are basically mini portfolios of loans that are just all grouped together, like for about 20 different loans inside a note. And that gives you as an investor instant diversification in all those different loans that are in the note, and also a more regular income coming from those notes, as you have all those loans that are paying interest, and then you get this interest back to you via these notes. So that's definitely a good thing that happened on Mintos since the last time I talked about this platform on my channel. In terms of the team managing Mintos, no big change here. It's still the same CEO, Martin Sulter, that is the CEO of Mintos. He get a lot of experience in the field of investments and lending, and also I talk with him regularly, especially during the COVID crisis, to see how things were growing, what they are doing, help recover the funds from investors. So a lot of loan originators, especially the one with the higher returns, got issues and were not able to pay back even the buyback guarantees back to investors. And that's because so many of those loan originators had loans that had problems, so people who could not pay back because of the COVID crisis, and therefore themselves they were not able to pay back to the investors. And that's what created a lot of problems, not only for Mintos, but for other platforms. And I think a lot of people were surprised that the buyback guarantee is not a universal guarantee. That means you will always get your money back. I always talk about risk on my channel, whether it is about P2P lending, real estate crowdfunding, or even investing in dividend growth stocks. So we'll see at the end of the video, when talking about my own experience, if Mintos did better or worse than other platforms. But just to say that there is risk with P2P lending, especially when you get 12% of returns per year. And Mintos actually did something to that it doesn't happen, at least not in the same way in the future. They introduced some very strict credit ratings for loan originators that really allow you to select your level of risk, of exposure to risk, when you actually invest notes coming from those loan originators. So we'll talk about that in a moment. So to actually invest on Mintos, still very simple. The account creation part is very fast, so you could just get ready to invest in less than 5 minutes. There is, of course, these questionnaires that I talked about before, that made sure that you will be able to understand the risk that you have when you invest on the platform. That takes a bit longer to fill. Also took me less than 5 minutes total, but for people especially that are new on the field of P2P lending, it can get a bit harder and longer. I will also post a guide, by the way, about that on my site soon, so you can really learn how to fill all those questionnaires on regulated platforms like Mintos. But definitely nothing that you can do, and it's still very easy to open an account and start investing on Mintos. Then when you actually deposited some money on the account, you can start to invest. What I recommend always is to use the auto invest settings. So here it changed compared to the last review I made, because you can now only invest in sets of notes instead of loans like you did before. However, globally it's the same, especially for the auto invest function. I like the fact that it's still there, by the way. Many platforms that got regulated had to stop for a while their auto invest function, and it was always working great on Mintos. That's really a great point here. I'm always using the same settings, so I try to invest in notes or loans that have good yields, so above 10%, and also that are focused on short-term loans. So I made sure that the money will constantly flow on my account. So now, to finish this video, let's talk about the more sensitive topic of what happened with Mintos during the COVID crisis. So I will talk about two things. What happened exactly with my portfolio and what are my yields at the moment. So for sure, I had some issues with my portfolio, like everyone, and like for most platforms actually. There were a lot of loans that could not be paid back by the borrowers, and therefore a lot of loan originators had issues as well. So for that, Mintos created a special category on their site called In Recovery, where they put all the money that was not coming back as it should from the loan originators because of COVID and because of financial issues on their side. And I can say at the moment, I still have 10% about of my own portfolio in this recovery part. So let's say I lose it all, right? This part in recovery, that they can never recover it for some reason. I will lose about 1 year worth of returns on the platform, right? So it will be bad, but also not that bad. But I completely understand the people posted a lot online on some communities, forums, people that reached out to me, that invested just before COVID hit and now have a lot of money in this recovery phase. Sometimes because they invested in loan originators with higher returns that had even more problems than others. And therefore they have sometimes more than 50% of their capital in this recovery part. And that's very bad. So overall, do I think that Mintos did worse than other platforms? Definitely yes. There were platforms that really navigated the COVID crisis better, I would say. So it's not necessarily Mintos' fault directly. It's more like the loan originators they are working with That's why I spend so much time on all my videos, on all my articles, speaking about those loan originators. That's the first thing you can check, that you must check when investing on a platform, because at the end, that's what will really determine what happened with the platform and with your money when a crisis hits. We don't know if another one will hit soon. Definitely platform like Mintos did a lot of things to protect investors' money in case it happened again, like introducing those ratings, for example, for loan originators, removing some from the platform. So definitely I can't blame Mintos directly, even if they had worse results than other platforms during the crisis. I need to say that compared to other platforms that also had issues during the COVID crisis, they did a very good job of communication and also of automatically informing people about where exactly the money was in recovery, where the problems were, and every month you get an email now about what's left to recover, where is it, what have been paid back already from the money you should get, and what the status of all of this. So that's very clear, and that's definitely a good point for Mintos. So in terms of returns, at the lowest, my returns were more around 10% during the COVID crisis. So it definitely got worse. And now it's actually back to 11.8%. So really close to the returns I was getting when I first started to invest on Mintos, were at more than 12%. So definitely it's jumping back up. I don't think it will go more than that, but definitely the yield problem has been solved. Only the recovery issue is still a problem for people that I would say invested just before the crisis and that have a lot of money stuck in this recovery phase. So is it still worth investing money on Mintos in 2022? Despite all the issues that they have, I have to say the answer is yes, because the crisis is now past. There might be also in the future, but now they have taken a lot of actions to actually prevent that many issues in the future. They are fully regulated, invest in notes, not anymore in loans. They introduced those ratings for loan originators. They removed some of them that were way too risky. So you can really invest in a much safer manner on the Mintos platform. So especially if you are new to this, if you are new to peer-to-peer lending investment, it's definitely a great way to start in the field of peer-to-peer lending to invest on Mintos. You will instantly get access to a lot of different loan originators with great yields on each of them, and also invest in a fully regulated environment with investment in notes. That being said, if you want to learn more about investing on Mintos, I always have my up-to-date review that I post on my site. You will find all my latest results, all the latest changes about Mintos, and you will also find my current returns with the platform. If you have any questions about Mintos, about investing in peer-to-peer lending in general, don't hesitate to leave them below. And that being said, thank you again for watching the video, and I will see you in the next one.